Hi guys, today we are going to present our topic is the association between the dividend cash and company earnings. Before we start, I'd like to introduce our group members. My name is Sri Arshad bin Syah Managing.
I'm Nurdaina Afifa. My name is Chawen Qi. Hi, my name is Najri Kapeichi.
Hi, I'm Chen.
Paul and Son have found that there is a negative relationship between dividend cash and earning change in subsequent year. They state that
Good morning. I'm Nurdaina Afifa, a reporter from Beta Films. A company usually makes their dividend payout based on the dividend policy in the company. An effective dividend policy not only able to attract investors and stimulate fundraising activities from the stock market, but it also can help the companies to cater their future investment needs. The association between dividend decision, future investment needs, and company earnings turn the dividends announcement as one of the sources of investors to access the company's future prospects. However, setting an effective dividend policy is quite difficult as the companies need to take in many conflicting factors as consideration. Apart then, paying dividends to signal financial health, the managers of company also has to consider the company's long-term financial goals and the ultimate goal of shareholder value maximization. Therefore, it is hard for the company to decide dividend policy as the dividend policy they make will affect the amount of company's retained earnings to exploit company growth. The relationship between dividend change and company earnings is one of the famous open debate topics in finance. Now, there is a discussion about this topic conducted by UN students. Let us take a look. We arrive. Now we are going to the room. Before we start our discussion, we have invited an expertise from COB. Now, she will introduce some of dividend policy theory.
In the real world, undeniably, there is information asymmetry between the managers and the investor. The investor has little reliable information to evaluate the firm's profitability or its growth prospect. So, how the investor assess or determines the firm performances? They may use the audited financial statements. However, all these financial statements may only use to evaluate or record the firm's past performances, but it does not actually tell the investor any expectations on the firm's future performances. Therefore, in these circumstances, investors tend to find clues to the management's belief on the firm's future expectations through the signals like the dividend changes from the management regarding its expectations on its future earnings. So, this comes a dividend signaling model. In 1956, Lindner proposes that the firm will set a long-term staggered payout ratio and alter it slowly over time. When the managers firmly believe that the future cash flow will support the higher dividend rate, the firm only will increase its dividends to signal its investors. Besides, in 1985, Merton Millen and Kelvin Rock also developed a model stating that managers will possess more information about the firm's current earnings than outside investors. Therefore, the dividend policy can be used as a tool to communicate with investors regarding a firm's performance. As a shareholder do not have management assessments of a firm's future profitability, dividend change able to transfer valuable information to the shareholders about the future prospects of a firm. In this way, information asymmetry between managers and outside investors able to be eliminated, since managers use the dividend change to signal the investor about their expectations about the firm's future profits. Now I would like to discuss about the agency cost and the free cash flow theory. This theory is developed by Jensen and McLean in 1976 to investigate the agency problems arises between the firm's insiders and outside investors. They stated that the agency problems arises from the free cash flow. Jensen's 1986 also claimed that as the firm grows larger, there will be more resources under their control. Therefore, the managers tend to expand the firms larger than its optimal size. The managers have also the incentive to undertake some activities that could be costly to the shareholders, like making unprofitable investment, which aims to generate excessive return to them, however has caused unnecessarily high management compensations which could erode the shareholders' interests. To reduce the agency problems arising from the separations of ownerships and managements, the best way is to return the excessive funds to the shareholder by paying cash dividends. As a result, the free cash flow hypothesis has suggested that the dividend increase announcement should be accompanied by positive stock market reactions because agency problems will be reduced, and investors believe that the dividends payouts able to reduce the potential over-investment problem. On the other hand, dividend decrease should be followed by negative market reaction, as this may indicate that the firms will misuse the excess cash into unprofitable projects.
Thank you for sharing. So, the discussion may start now.
Hi, Wenqi. What do you expect for the company's future earning or performance if there is a change in the dividend payout? Let's say the company has declared an increase in dividend payout.
Wow, I think that this is really a good news. This indicates that this company is performing good and expecting to generate higher earnings, so it decided to increase its dividend payout. I think that the company will only increase dividend payout if it is confident toward the growth of future earnings and found that they have the capability to do so. I don't think that a company is still willing to increase its dividend payout if it realizes that it's unable to generate a stable or increase its future company earnings. This can be seen in the study carried out by Edmund and Ennis at 2003. They examined the relationship between dividend changes and future earnings by analyzing the payout ratio of S&P 500 index over the period from 1946 to 2001 and their consecutive 10-year growth in its real earnings. The analysis showed that there was a positive relationship between dividend changes and future earnings. The result also revealed that the growth of future earnings tend to be slow when dividend payout ratio was low, and the higher the dividend payout ratio, the greater the average consecutive 10-year earning growth. So I think that there is a positive relationship between dividend changes and company earnings.
Oh, I do see your point. But Cox and Son have found that dividend changes are negatively related to earning change in subsequent years. They state that the contradictory dividend increase may intend to satisfy equity investors through increasing dividend. However, future earnings may be also affected because fewer funds will be available for future development since the company are paying more dividend in the case of past earning decline. This indicates that the company has given up the investment opportunity. This can seem that some investors prefer capital gain over the cash dividend. These are also some studies which show that there is a negative relationship between these two variables. Firstly, the study taken by Hedham and Kick in 1997 revealed that there is a negative correlation between dividend change and company earnings. They state that the incremental of dividend which the payment of a larger than expected dividend may signal that the firm does not have any available investment opportunity. They will sustain the earning growth and the capital market will lead to negative reaction. Inversely, the reduction of dividend may signal that the firm has available investment and the capital market will react positively. Not only this, Model and Rapacholi 1998 and Aberatna and Power 2002 also found that there's a negative relationship between dividend change and company earnings. The findings show that there's a positive market reaction to dividend decrease announcements. They found that the dividend decrease may not provide a negative signal about future earnings, probably because small dividend decrease may represent the company attempt to keep resources for future growth opportunity or make decisions to solve firm financial problems. They also provide evidence decrease in dividend provide a significant improvement in profitability as well as financial and liquidity ratio. As a result, share price of the company increase could occur in the dividend decrease announcement period.
I understand what you have said, but I think that only the risk-seeking investor will perceive it for this way. For the risk-averse investor, they tend to perceive this in opposite ways. They will become panicked if discover that the company reduced its dividend payout. Perhaps they will start to sell it off as they have lost confidence toward the future performance of the company. Therefore, increase in dividend payout will reduce the adverse signal about the performance of the firm. Bhattacharya 1979 also has stated that although the tax rate on dividend is higher than that of capital gains, many investors are willing to pay higher tax if they receive the favorable signal that the firm will have greater value in future. Not only this, increase in dividend also able to reduce principal-agent conflict. This is because the investor believe that dividend payout able to reduce the potential over-investment problem and prevent the company from using the internal generated funds for unnecessary projects, and thus agency problem can also be reduced.
However, Prasangi and Vijay Singh has emphasized the importance of striking a balance between dividend payout and future profitability. They also state that if the company is illiquid result of high dividend payout, external financing will be needed, which is responsible for higher interest. Therefore, future profitability will be reduced and eventually impact to shareholder wealth as well.
Besides that, agency theory also proposed that the payment of large portion of earnings to shareholders and subsequent issue of debt will encourage the monitoring of the firm by bank and credit institution. Therefore, I think that the company may think of their capability in repay its debt obligations since they realize that they will be monitored. On the other hand, I actually think that the high dividend payout will lead the firm to efficient use of resources, including internally generated fund and also external fund. This is because the firm not only want to delight the investor, but also want to ensure the firm will have the capacity to provide high dividend payments. For instance, if there is a need to issue long-term debt in response of high dividend payout, the firm will also make sure that the future cash flow of earning able to repay its obligations.
Thank you for the discussion. Besides these two relationships, there are also some studies stated that there is no relationship between these two variables. Now, I would like to invite another expertise, Mr. Arshad, to explain further.
There are several studies argue that dividend changes has no relationship with company earnings.
According to research done by Fariso, Jury and Moser 2004, there was no significant relationship exist between dividend and earnings in the long period. The analysis of the research was based on quarterly dividends and earnings of the S&P 500 index from 1998 to 2002. The results would strongly support the hypothesis of the dividends have no explanatory power to predict companies' future earnings. They argue that the previous studies that conclude positive and negative relationships are based on short-term periods and they were misleading potential investors. Meanwhile, Grollo, Micheli, Bernazzi, and Taylor 2005 also found dividend changes are not correlated with future earnings changes. The studies was conducted based on companies that listed on New York Stock Exchange and American Stock Exchange from 1963 to 1997. The analysis was conducted by using the linear model and non-linear model of earning expectation to investigate the economic significance of dividends to predict companies' future earnings. They compared the out-of-sample forecasting ability of linear and non-linear model. The result of the analysis illustrates the model that includes dividend changes did not outperform and even underperform the model that excludes dividends in most cases. This shows dividend changes were not reliable predictor of future earnings and thus it was uncorrelated with future earnings. Moreover, Lim 2008 also argued there was no significant relationship between dividend changes in current years and future earning changes. The data in the analysis were obtained from the DPS and EPS of listed companies in Bursa Malaysia from 1997 to 2007. The result of the study showed that there was no relationship between the changes in current dividend and the changes in the unexpected earnings in the following year from year 1 to year 5. This study summarized the reason of dividend changes cannot predict measures companies' future earnings were due to unpredictable future earnings, fulfillment of the shareholders' need on the investment return as their source of income, and Malaysian investors were generally more concerned on the changes in share price rather than the changes in the dividends. According to Lee, Issa and Lim 2012, dividend changes had insignificant relationship with changes of earnings beyond 1 year. This result was consistent with the Lim 2008 research. In addition, they also found weak evidence to support the relationship between the dividend stability and the size of dividend changes with future earnings. Other than that, there was another study conducted by Velnapi, Nimaltasan, and Kalai Arasi 2014 conclude that dividend policy does not affect the company's performance. 25 out of 37 manufacturing companies listed in the Colombo Stock Exchange was the sample of the study and their financial data during 2008 and 2012 was collected for the analysis. The results revealed dividend policy was not significantly correlated with the return on asset and return on equity as the measure of firm's performance. As profitability is one of aspects of firm performance, the relationship between dividend changes and firm profitability was still questioned when the dividend policy did not affect the company's performance as stated in this study. Lastly, Kursunas and Jaber 2016 conclude that dividend changes cannot be used to explain future earnings and were not reliable to predict future earnings. The result of the study showed the changes in dividend was positively correlated with the next year earnings changes but negatively correlated with the earnings changes in the following 2 years. The inconsistency of the results made the study fail to support the positive significant relationship between dividends and future earnings, and the result of the study suggests that the changes in the company's future earnings were due to the other macroeconomic factors that rather than dividend changes.
Thank you for information. In conclusion, there is still no strong evidence in determining whether the relationship between dividends change and its future earnings are positive, negative, or non-related. However, Investors still tend to use this information to indicate the future performance of the company since they do not have management's assessment of a firm's future profitability. As investors, they should also realize that there is always risk and uncertainties in the capital market which will affect the future earnings from time to time, no matter how the dividend changes have conveyed the information regarding the future firm performance to them. For instance, smart investors should always examine and analyze external factors such as economic and political issues which will also lead to the unpredictable change in the future earnings.